Many people get confused with what the internet is and what the web is.
What is the internet?
The internet is like a popular thing.
Some satellites up there.
I picture in my head with like waves of internet going to the phone.
Somebody told me a cloud once.
The internet is a lot like plumbing, it's always moving.
Others also interchange what the internet is with that of the web by saying they browse the internet instead of saying they browse the web. As your trusted, certified, knowledgeable, and experienced cyber commander, I am mandated to provide you with all the answers and secrets regarding the internet and the web. In this video, I will explain into details the differences between the internet and the web. Let's first begin with a brief history of the internet. The internet was first envisioned by Joseph Carl Robert Licklider, an American psychologist and a computer scientist who is considered as one of the most important figures in computer science and general computing history. Due to his envisioned communication project, known today as the Internet, Licklider was appointed as the first head of the computer research program at DARPA, an agency of the US Department of Defense responsible for the development of emerging technologies to be used by the military. With the support of Licklider, DARPA invented the Internet in 1962 and was originally to be used by the US military for its communications. But later, the decision was reviewed and the Internet project got declassified in order to be accessed by all, which as a result, we all now have access to the Internet. The World Wide Web, popularly referred to as the web, was later invented in 1991 at CERN, a physics research lab in Geneva, Switzerland. The web consists of HTTP and HTML, both used by browsers to communicate with servers via the internet. In a simple term, the internet is a collection of networks machinery that allows access to the web, whilst the web is a collection of pages that may have text, videos, or images on them. Basically, the web is a subnet of the internet's traffic. In other words, the internet rather contains the web. So it's wrong to say you are surfing the internet. Instead, say you are surfing the web. The internet is categorized into 4 layers, namely the Surfacenet, the Deepweb, the Darkweb, and the Darknet. In order to explain further the different levels of the internet, let us use an iceberg, which is equally made up of 4 layers. The floating ice of an iceberg seen above sea level represent the first layer of the internet, which is the surface web, and can also be referred to as ClearNet or Surfacenet, can be accessed by all internet users. Internet search engines like Yahoo, Bing, and Google are all hosted on the surface web. Also, news websites such as CNN, BBC, France 24, and Al Jazeera are equally hosted on the surface web. Unlike the other levels of the internet, all web browsers can be used to access the surface web. The surface web constitutes just 4% of the entire internet content. This means that users of the surface web are limited and have access to just 4% of the information stored on the internet. Although the surface web have the majority of internet users compared with the other 3 levels of the internet. But from a hacker's point of view, I will say the surface web is an open or no-gated community, meaning users of the surface web can easily be hacked. The immediate base of the iceberg that is shallowly immersed in the ice water represents the deep web. Content hosted in the deep web are not indexed by standard web search engines like Google, Yahoo, and Bing. This means that information stored in the deep web cannot be accessed or searched with the standard web search engines. The deep web is a small section of the entire 95% of the deep internet, which hosts 96% of the entire internet content. Data stored and hosted in the deep web are internet content associated with usernames and passwords, like Netflix accounts, information hosted and stored in the cloud, email accounts, Dropbox, iCloud accounts, health records, and social media accounts and messages hosted on the internet. It's important to note that basic information related to the content hosted in the deep web can be accessed at the surface web with the same web browsers used to access the surface web. This is why you can access basic information regarding Netflix, email services, and social media accounts. But if you seek to access further information such as emails, social media messages, Netflix account details, and information hosted in the cloud, you will be requested to log in with a username and password in order to grant you access to the content stored in the deep web. To simply put, you always access the deep web anytime you log in into your email account, your Netflix account, or your social media account. From a hacker's point of view, I would say the deep web is a fenced and gated internet community with encryption and various forms of access controls. The main basement from which the iceberg is physically formed from represents the dark web, which is the third structural layer of the internet, but of the second layer of the deep internet. The dark web is a section of the deep internet which requires overlay networks with specific configurations and specific web browsers such as the I2P browser and the Tor browser for its access. Internet content stored and hosted in the dark web cannot be accessed by the users of the deep web and the surface web due to the onion layers of networks encoding the communication channels, networks, and the IP addresses of devices accessing the dark web. Most dark web users have been made to believe that their identities and locations is anonymous and encrypted. This, as a result, has turned the dark web into a den of cyber criminals, illegal activities, and nefarious trading of goods and services. But as a certified, learned, experienced, and knowledgeable cybersecurity professional, a cyber researcher, and a certified cyber forensic professional, I say with authority that all dark web users, networks, and activities are not anonymous as they have been made to believe. So be advised and desist from any form of illegal activities you may be engaged in the dark web. Food of thought: you not being picked up for your illegal activities or trading in the dark web doesn't mean that you have not been spotted or identified by the big brother or by the law enforcement agency. From a hacker's point of view, I would say the dark web is equally a gated cyber community but hosts many cyber criminals and is of extra cybersecurity controls compared to that of the deep web. For guidelines in tracking dark web users involved in illegal activities, contact me on Twitter at CDR_IAM or leave me a comment below. The main source from which the iceberg is created is the deep cold water, which in our context represents the darknet, the last structural layer of the internet. The darknet is the main source of the internet and is mostly accessed by internet service providers, the military, international space agencies, and very skillful hackers for their highly encrypted communications. The darknet is often not talked about due to its high level of access restrictions to the general public. Many dark web users get confused with darknet and the dark web, and as a result, they think there is no difference between the darknet and the dark web, but there is. But as a cyber commander, I hereby inform you that the darknet is not accessible by the general public and is equally not the same as the deep web. Advanced cyber tools and softwares are needed to be able to access the darknet. From a certified cybersecurity point of view, I will advise you to stay away from the darknet in order to avoid any jail term. But from a hacker's point of view, I will say the darknet is the internet's secret society with strict restrictions and invitation for its access. Subscribe to my YouTube channel at CDR_IAM for cybersecurity awareness, tips, and for free but robust and comprehensive cyber certification courses.